Greetings, adventurer, and welcome to the Elder Scrolls Library. My name is Aurelius, your lore master, and today we are reading and discussing the Adabal-a. The book, the Adabal-a, appears in 3 of the Elder Scrolls games: Oblivion, Skyrim, and Elder Scrolls Online. This book is traditionally known to be the memoirs of Morihaus, and contains information about Pelennor Whitestrake and Queen Alessia. Let's get into the Adabal-a. The Adabal-a. Editor's note: the Adabal-a is traditionally believed to be the memoirs of Morihaus, consort to Alessia the Slave Queen. While this cannot be historically verified, the Adabal-a is certainly among the oldest written accounts to come down to us from the early First Era. Pellennor's death. And in the blood-floored throne room of white gold, the severed head of Pelennor spoke to the winged bull Morihaus, demigod lover of all Esh, saying, "Our enemies have undone me, and spread my body into hiding. In mockery of divine purpose, the Aliens cut me into 8ths, for they are obsessed with this number." And Morihaus, confused, snorted through his ring, saying, "Your crusades went beyond her counsel, Whitestrake. But I am a bull, and therefore reckless in my wit. I think I would go and gore our prisoners if you had left any alive. You are blood made glorious, uncle, and will come again, as fox animal or light. Sirod is still ours." Then Pelennor spoke again for the last time. "Beware, Morihaus, beware. With the foresight of death, I know now that my foe yet lives. Bitter knowledge to take to my grave. Better that I had died believing myself the victor. Although cast beyond the doors of night, he will return. Be vigilant. I can no longer shield the hosts of men from Umaril's retribution." Alessia's youth during the slave years. Paraf's original tribe is unknown, but she grew up in Sard, Anon Sardavar Lead, where the Aliens herded in men from across all of Niben, Kothri, Need, Algema, men of Kreeth, though these were later known to be imported from the north, Keptu, men of Gi, who were eventually destroyed when the Flower King Nalichi made great sacrifices to an insect god named Lost. Al-Hared, men of Ket, others, but this was Sirod, the heart of the Imperatum Saliak, where men knew no freedom, even to keep family, or choice of name except in secret, and so to their alien masters all of these designations were irrelevant. Men were given over to the lifting of stones, and the draining of the fields, and the upkeep of temple and road, or to become art torture for strange pleasures, as in the wailing wheels of Vindicel and the gut gardens of Sirken, the flesh sculpture which was everywhere among the slaves of the Aliens in those days, or worse, the realms of the Fire King Hadhul, where the begetting of drugs drawn from the admixture of daedrons into living hosts let one inhale new visions of torment, and children were set aflame for nightmare tiger sport. Morihaus explains Alessia's names. Then Morihaus said to them, "In your tales you have many names for her. Al-Esh, given to her in awe, that when translated sounds like redundancy, the high, from which come the more familiar corruptions, Al-Ashut, Esha, Alessia. You know her as Paravant, given to her when crowned, first of its kind, by which the gods meant a mortal worthy of the majesty that is killing, questing, healing, which is also Paraval, Pavesh, Parathu, Parif, and in my case, for it is what I called her when we were lovers, Paravania. Though she is gone to me, she remains bathed in stars, first Empress, Lady of Heaven, Queen Utsarad." And they considered themselves full answered and departed. Like I said during the intro, this book is traditionally believed to be memoirs of Morihaus, or at the very least, it is one of the oldest writings that we have from the early First Era. In the first section, Morihaus finds Pellinol's head on the blood-soaked floor of the throne room. Having not yet fully died, Pellinol informs Morihaus that he has been cut into 8 pieces and hidden away. Morihaus replies by telling Pellinol that his crusades had gone too far, well beyond her counsel, implying that Pellinol's overzealous nature to destroy the aliens had played a part in his undoing. Morihaus refers to Pellinol as uncle. This may be literal, but more likely because they are both viewed as demigods, and Pellinol being the eldest, Morihaus refers to him as uncle in reference to their shared divinity. Some of, if not the last words that Morihaus said to Pellinol was him looking forward to the time when Pellinol would make his return, as a fox or as light. Those are 2 very different things to potentially come back as. Pellinol leaves Morihaus with a warning, urging Morihaus to be vigilant, knowing that Umaril will return, and when he does, Pellinol will not be there to stop him. Umaril was a demigod warrior of the Aliads. He was defeated by Pellinol prior to his own death. However, Pellinol's warning about the return of Umaril was correct. Umaril, while initially defeated in roughly 1E243, made his return in 3E433, where he would ultimately meet his final death. Parif's original tribe is unknown. Parif, which we find out later, is another name for Alessia. It says her tribe is unknown, and then goes on to list many of the tribes of men that the Aliads have enslaved, stating that your tribe, your family, and even your name are of no importance to the Aliads. Next, we get into the portion that talks about what slave life was like for Alessia and the race of men before the rebellion. It mentions several normal-sounding duties for a slave to have, like laying stones, field work, road work, temple maintenance, and then it takes a bit of a left turn with art tortures. We don't know all the details about everything that is mentioned here, but we know some. The first one it mentions is the Wailing Wheels of Vindicel. We have no details beyond the name, so I'll let your imagination fill in the blanks. Next is the Gut Gardens of Sirken, another form of art torture that lacks any details. I imagine nicely curated rows of bodies that have had their entrails ripped from them while still alive, of course. The book then mentions flesh sculpture as something being widespread throughout the Aliad Empire. Flesh sculpture is a style of magic based around the manipulation of the flesh of living beings. While this can be used for healing purposes or as a positive cosmetic procedure, it can also be used for an opposite and very negative outcome. The realms of Fire King Hadul are said to be the worst place for a slave to be, with one practice that he seems particularly fond of, the burning of children. He sounds utterly delightful, doesn't he? In the final section of the book, Morihaus addresses Alessia's name, and there are many variations. Al-Esh became Alashut, Esha, and eventually Alessia, the translation of the original name being the High, similar to Your Highness. When she was crowned, she was named Paravant, meaning first of its kind. The variations here are Paraval, Pavesh, Parathu, and Parif, which the book used in reference to Alessia earlier. The last name Morihaus reveals is the name that he called her when they were lovers, Paravania. 3 sections capturing 3 very different times, but each of which leads to a better understanding of the history and character of Alessia, Morihaus, and Pellinol. Thank you so much for sticking around and listening. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me what you think about this book in the comments below. And may the blessings of the 8 Divines be upon you.